Would someone like to move approval of the agenda?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The agenda approves. And that brings us to recognition of students, staff, and public. And first, I would like to call upon Oak Grove Middle School. They have a play, Hairspray, and is Brian Blessing and Sean Stelton. Are they still staging?
They're in the hall.
They're not ready for us yet?
Gotta go ahead and ring a bell.
Sorry, I'm going too fast.
But they're coming.
All right. I suppose I should have looked up from my paper to make sure that they were standing there waiting for me before I called on them.
They have to get their hair arranged
Their
properly.
hair was done.
Here they are. Right. Brian Blessing and Sean Stelton, everybody.
Well, hello. I'm Sean Shelton. Thank you very much. And one of the directors of the musical. And
I'm Brian Blessing, one of the music director.
all right.
Hi, I'm Kevin Dehani.
Great. Well, we're excited to present one of our songs from Hairspray for you today that we're going to be performing in just like a little over a week here, really. We're going to start our shows. We've been working now since, well, we had auditions in November, and we started rehearsals in January, and so the kids have been putting in a lot of hours going through their choreography, memorizing their lines, and working on blocking and all that fun stuff. And now we're getting ready to the point where things are really coming together, and we're very excited to be doing our show here next week.
This musical at Oak Grove has really just become such a wonderful tradition here annually, and we've been so fortunate to have some great press this year, and amazing costumes from Kevin Doheny. These wigs that he's been working on really since last April have been getting noticed not only from Fox 9 News, but also from BuzzFeed and from Twin Cities Live, aired a segment today as well, so we're so thrilled about that. The performances will be next week on Wednesday at 10 a.m., a senior citizen matinee, and then next Thursday and Friday night at 7 p.m. on the 23rd and 24th, and then Saturday the 25th, we'll do a matinee show at 3, and then a 7 o'clock evening show as well. So we're hoping that we can see you there. So we'll turn it over to our girls of the show, who are going to be singing Mama, I'm a Big Girl Now, and also accompanied by Judy Cooper.
Stop telling me what to do. Don't treat me like a child of two. I know that you want what's best. Mother, please give it a rest. Stop, don't, no, please. Stop, don't, no, please. Stop, don't, no, Bobby Burdell, cheeks, toodaloo, and chow. 'Cause mama, I'm a big girl now. Oh, stop, don't, no, please. Stop, don't, no, please. Stop, don't, no, please. Mama, I'm a big girl now. Oh, you always told me what was right from wrong, and now I just wanna give it a try. Mama, I've been in the nest for far too long, so please give a push and mama, watch me fly, watch me fly. Someday I will meet a man you won't condemn, and he will have some kids and you can torture them. Let me be a star before I take that vow, 'cause mama, I'm a big girl now. Oh, oh, oh. Mama, I'm a big girl now. Hey, hey, hey. Mama, I'm a big girl. Oops, such a big, big girl. I'm a big girl now. Oh, Mama, I'm a big girl now.
Thanks again for having us. We hope to see you next week, again on Thursday the 23rd and Friday the 24th at 7, and then Saturday the 25th at 3 and at 7. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who did all the hair?
As Brian said, the show's been generating a lot of media attention and a lot of good positive attention for the school and for the district. So just as a little side wink, we hope you remember that when you consider funding for the arts next year. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time.
It's Kevin, right? The students would like to give a shout out, like wave on camera, say hi mom, hi dad. You can tell us who you are on the microphone as you're heading out the door.
Walk right in the microphone.
See your name. Tell us your name.
You just tell us your name and
What's your name?
yeah.
I'm Madeline Ingebrigtsen.
I'm Madigan Ryan.
I'm Carly Johnson.
Bella Thurston.
I'm Avalon Holland.
I'm Dana Stephenson.
Aja Wells.
Hannah Becker. Olivia Squires.
Bella Fernstall.
Olivia Leach. Shout out to my Aunt Katie, who's sitting right over there.
Yay, young kid.
That's it. I love you, Mom. Emily Schultz.
Thank you very much. And next up, the school district is fortunate to have businesses and organizations supporting our learners and the community of Bloomington. In appreciation of these collaborative efforts, the school board recognizes our Friends of Education. We welcome Miss Sue Martell, Volunteer Connection Placement Specialist, to do the introduction of our friends for this evening, Quality Bicycle Products and Hope for Tomorrow.
Well, that is a tough act to follow. That's all I'm going to say. But the people that are coming up are very, very special. I always get the chance to get to meet all our community members and business partners. And Bloomington, they care about Bloomington and our kids. And here they are today. So I'm going to have Dr. Jamie Peters, who is one of our mentors for the Hope for Tomorrow program, talk a little bit about what Hope for Tomorrow is. And he will also share about how awesome these mentors are from Quality Bikes. That is a wonderful corporation here in Bloomington.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks for asking us to be here. So yes, that is a very tough act to follow. I don't sing a lot, so especially in front of audiences. But anyway, we will be a little bit entertaining. I have been a mentor with Hope for Tomorrow since 2010, which is when Quality Bike Product, which is the largest wholesaler of bicycle parts in the world, located in Bloomington, became involved in the program. Originally in 2010, there were five men who joined the first program for men at Valley View, and that was in 2010. The program itself has also been at Oak Grove here for almost 20 years, I think. So really, and it's a national program. Are any of you familiar with Hope for Tomorrow? It's a great organization. I don't know if you are or if you've heard of it, but it's basically provides one-on-one mentor-mentee pairs, and then monthly meetings with the group, and there's a curriculum that follows all the way through the year, and hopefully this is something that really benefits eighth graders and there are eighth graders who are in the program, and giving them skills as they launch into high school. And it's an amazing curriculum, and it's been really fun for me to see the kids grow during that year. I mean, I actually remember Hope for Tomorrow is just they have brought youth to the mentors, which is good to offset some of the guys like me who are a little bit older, and they bring an energy into the interacting with the kids. I remember one particular skit they were doing. It was on making good choices and peer influence, and they sort of had this. They did this whole acting thing with the kids, and it was amazing how the kids really were so really taken by the quality of the acting from Quality Bike Park people. So and also the message. So. I will go ahead and introduce Jared Fuller and Lisa Anderson. Jared is the lead at Valley View, where I'm a mentor, and I'm especially grateful to Jared because I was the lead, and I was overwhelmed with some work and commitments, and I asked Jared, I knew he'd do a great job, and I asked him, and I was shocked that he said, yes, I'll be the lead. So this is his second year now. He's doing a fantastic job, so I'm especially grateful. And Lisa is the lead. They're both at Quality Bike Product, but they'd like to step up here and just say a few things about the relationship between Quality Bike Product and this Hope for Tomorrow. So thank you, guys.
Hi. Hi, I'm Lisa Anderson, and this is my third year being a mentor, and I'm a mentor over at Valley View. So just a little more background. I think about when Ginny and Kathy came to QBP probably 4 or 5 years ago and talked about Hope for Tomorrow. I thought, wow, I was a 14-year-old girl once, and boy, would have I loved to have a woman that wasn't related to me to talk about some things and just give me some of these life skills, or just the things that we do are just instrumental, I think, in building confidence for these girls that could kind of go either way, really. So that's been huge for me. So we have nine or 12 mentor-mentee pairs over at Valley View, and it's just remarkable to me to see the difference between that first day that everybody's a little nervous to meet their mentor or meet their mentee, and then that last day in May when you have your celebration, how you aren't sure because you guys know, I mean, these are teenage boys and girls. They don't exactly open up willingly, but you realize at the end, like, oh, I made a difference, and that's huge. So we have, I believe, 6 women and then 3 or 4 men from QBP that are mentors this year. So, and, Jared and I do a lot of recruiting because we have such amazing people, and you want, to your point, Jamie, I mean, you need to have all age sets as mentors because it's just how you relate to the kids better. So for me personally, it's been huge, and it's just really fun to see those girls develop over the course of the year. So I appreciate it, and now I'll hobble back over here.
So Seth asked me to step in as he's going to be on vacation, or he is on vacation. Again, my name is Jared Fuller. I took over for Jamie as chapter lead for Valley View Middle School. I didn't really know what I was in for, but I was up for the challenge. It's a really good program, and after my first session, I kind of went in with my first session the first year kind of not knowing what to expect. And, 13-year-old kids, they don't open up, they don't talk a lot, but just being present and trying to help them walk through ideas, and it's not necessarily all about school, just their lives in general. Like, they don't always see all the doors they have open to them. And pointing those out, like, as a mentor, the hardest part coming in as a new mentor is not telling the kids what to do. You can see the path that they're on, and you see that it's going down the wrong road. But you're not their parent. You're just helping them find their way. So, like, all right, you want to go down this road. Where does that lead? What? What's step A, B? Like, if you do this, then what happens next? I don't know. Well, think about it. And then, like, walking them through those steps. The hardest part, again, is not telling them where it's going to end up, but letting them figure it out, what the possibilities are. And then, like, all right, do you want to end up wherever we ended up? No. All right, let's walk that back. What happens if you take this road? What happens if you take this road? Like, opening up those possibilities of what they can do and seeing that light switch turn on is really cool. You're never going to get a thank you. But the other thing is, when I came into Hope for Tomorrow 3 years ago, I had a 1-year-old daughter. So I'm 1-year-old daughter, 13-year-old boys. I'm picturing myself at 13, and I don't want my 13-year-old daughter to deal with 13-year-old boys. So I feel like this is also penance on my part. So there's that kind of like edge of new parent. How do I talk to a teenager when I'm no longer a teenager, and I'm just kind of working through that? So I think selfishly, I get something from it too. I think every mentor does. We get a fresh perspective on things. Hopefully we give the mentees a fresh perspective. For Quality Bicycle Products, from the start, our what is Steve now? Title? Chairman of the board. So our chairman of the board / owner has always been big on giving back to the community, and essentially rising tide raises all ships. And with his background, he was very big and strongly encourages all of the staff at QVP to volunteer. And this seemed like a natural outlet for me. And I'm very grateful that Hope for Tomorrow does exist, and that I get the chance to try and make a difference in kids' lives one-on-one. And like I said, sometimes you can see some change, sometimes you don't. But there's always the chance that even if it's not your mentee, your one-on-one mentee you're resonating with, something you say in one of the group sessions, in the kind of round table discussions, will resonate with somebody else, and they'll carry it forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to thank Quality Bicycle Products and Hope for Tomorrow, and you'll see you have your sign is up on our Friends board in the back, so thank you very much. Do you have anything else you wanted to add at the end? Sure.
One more quick thing, that, and I meant to mention this. As part of the curriculum, we have a visit to a college, and also a visit to a company, and that's always been the case through the curriculum programs around the country. And our place that we visit, the company, is Quality Bike Product, and it's amazing to go in there and see the energy, see all the different jobs, and the kids get to see the engineers who are designing bikes and the people building, wheels. I mean, it's just, and there's so a little bit of recruiting for future employees too going on. But anyway, it's very fun, and we really appreciate the relationship with Quality Bike Products and the support from the board. So thank you very much.
Thanks again. us to recognition of the public. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board on an item that is not on the agenda? And I do have one name written down. We had a Mrs. Gina Palava.
Well, Gina's sitting out in the hallway. She wasn't able to come in here because her daughter is so distraught about what's going on. She is out there in the hallway. So I'd like to read what my wife would like me to present, if that is all right with the board.
Certainly.
Okay. She'd like to thank everybody for letting her speak. She's coming here because the rights of our daughter have been violated by the district, and she feels now that they've been even more violated after a phone call received by a board member last night. It was basically, to her, felt like she was being frowned upon for speaking tonight. She was told that basically the school board was there to govern policies according to govern policies. According to policy 521, the district is responsible to ensure that students with disabilities are ensured a free and appropriate education unique to their child's needs. In violation of this is Ridgeview, the superintendent, and the school board. This is why we have gone further into the Minnesota Department of Education and are planning a civil suit. We have documentation that the superintendent did not tell the truth in a matter of a phone call being placed to Child Protection Services. We already knew this, but needed to get the proof in hand, which we do have. They're trying to cover up this because of the call should never have been made. The call was placed on the day that my mother passed away, and it was due to greasy hair and to chips and cookies in Ari's lunch. I worked as a coordinator with the weight loss clinic for 7 years, and these are the top things that discriminate against with people that are heavier. The case with child protection was about to be closed, but then another call was placed about Ari's attendance, so it stayed open. Now it is making it worse for us because Ari's anxiety to going to school is getting worse, especially with child protection getting involved. This district has caused great emotional distress to my daughter. The first week she was trying to go back to school, there was a para who physically put her hands on my daughter to pull her away from me. As she chuckled, the secretary took my shoulders and said, "You get Ari and I got Mom." Is this really a joke to everybody? Also, the fact that none of us here have had the time to grieve the loss of our mother has caused great emotional distress on Ari. To the point where, I'm going to add this, I already talked to the superintendent about this. She looked at me and my wife and said, "I'm a loser." I have never said loser in front of my daughters, ever. That's the way she feels. Also, last night, she said, "Why is the school picking on me?" and started crying. How would that make you feel as a parent? Just think about that. This is from your guys' policy again, number 414, letter H. Any person knowing or recklessly making a false report under the provisions of application Minnesota law or its policy should be liable in a civil suit or any actual damages suffered by the person or persons so reported and in punitive damages set by the court or jury, and the reckless making of a false report may result in discipline. We have proof that this was done. My wife has an email that was sent out to the teacher before school started, telling her about our daughter's problem with people touching her hair. It's a sensory thing with kids with autism. It's one of the signs. And that was put out before she even went to school. To the teacher that made the phone call. So there should never have been a phone call made. And we have proof from Child Protection stating that an odor from her hair and stuff like that was the main reason child protection was called. Nobody ever intervened with us, came to us or anything to say anything. They just made a phone call. And there was already an email stating what the issues with the daughter was. It's just kind of ridiculous that was made, the day of her funeral, or the day she died. Then the day after the funeral, we get a call from Child Protection. And in that call, the Child Protection officer said he had been at the school talking to our daughter. Let me pull up another school board policy. Policy 414 again, Section 3, investigation B. When an investigating agency determines that an interview should take place on district property, written notification of intent to interview a child on district property will be received by district officials prior to interview. The notification shall include the name of the child being interviewed, the purpose of the interview, and reference to authority to conduct an interview on district property. That was not done. The principal told me he saw the guy from Child Protection there. He didn't know why he was there. When I went to when I came up here and talked to people at the district, the assistant superintendent did not know anybody was coming. When I asked the superintendent if he knew of Child Protection being called, he didn't know. Right here in your own policy states that somebody from this board, higher up, or the principal should be notified when Child Protection is coming on property to talk to a child. She was violated there. She's so afraid to go to school because she's afraid that somebody's going to pull her out and take her away from us. You guys have done this to her. And it boils down to bullying, basically, by the school. With a conversation with the superintendent, I was told I wanted an apology from the superintendent, board of district, the school district board, the teacher, and the principal. I was told by the superintendent we would have the principal, he would have a conversation with the principal. That was over 2 weeks ago. We haven't heard anything. Just like when my wife sent a heartfelt message to the whole school board, nobody replied until I sent one more message to the chairman, and he replied back saying he didn't realize that we wanted a response. That's pretty, I already covered that last time. But my wife's purpose for coming, besides Ari's suffering severe anxiety now and trying to get her back to school where everything's been blowing that we worked up to in preschool, getting her to school, is that people need to be more aware of kids with disabilities and IEPs on how, they go about things around here. Also, reporting, there should be somebody else that, like a teacher, reports to before they report something to Child Protection to look over it. Because there was, like I said, an email sent out explaining stuff, and that should never have gone. That phone call should have never been made. There's nothing that you could ever feel. I don't know if you've ever had something like this put upon you, but it's stress. It's a lot of stress. And I've been here 3 times now. My intent was not to speak tonight. It was my wife was gonna, but my daughter is so afraid. You guys got her so afraid of people and dealing with you guys that she is that afraid. That's all I have. And I'd like to have some answers. I know you say you don't talk to people here and stuff, but this is ridiculous that it has gone this far. You've violated 3 policies of your guys's. You've also violated 3 of your core values right there. Respect. Treat others as you would want to be treated. Would you want Child Protection called on you first before approaching a parent who already gave you an email stating some of the issues they have with their daughter? Integrity. Living up to your word. Nobody's living up to their word here. It's a bunch of lies, we've been told. And then honesty, telling the truth. People are covering stuff up here. And I have proof. I have the paperwork at home. If you guys want to see it, we'll make copies of it. they'll be going with the report to the Board of Education and stuff. But, you know, you guys violated 3 of you guys' own core values besides policies. This is the way I see it. Something needs to be made right for my daughter. You're ruining an education. She's a 5-year-old child. This should be the foundation for her education, but it is not. It's been ruined, and something needs to be done. I expect an email or a written notification from the board on what I've discussed, because I'm not getting anything from the superintendent. We haven't heard from him in 2 weeks now. That's why we're back. And to try to get somebody not to come to the school board meeting, that's not great. That's cowardly. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Palava, if you, 1 minute. I will apologize to you. I don't know if your wife can hear me right now in the hall.
I'll have her come in. We'd like to have an apology from
I'll
everyone.
apologize for the phone call that I made. What I was trying to explain in this phone call was that we can't have the conversation about your daughter here at the board meeting.
Nobody wants to talk to us outside the board meeting. Mr. Fujitaki told me he feels awkward talking in front of our daughter. You know what's awkward is when you have child protection breathing down you, when you've done nothing wrong. Your whole life you spent saving people, trying to help people in their time of need. My time of need, I'm struggling right now because you guys have put us in such a situation that's awkward.
So I wasn't trying to, I'm sorry if it felt like I was trying to hinder her from coming and speaking. I just wanted to make sure that she understood that we won't have a conversation about your daughter at the board meeting. That what we'll do is we'll take the information that you've given us about the policies that you have said have been violated. We have it recorded so we can go back and watch the tape. Also, I believe the superintendent has been writing those down. We will follow up. If you would rather have a message come from me than the superintendent, but he, just so you know, he will be doing most of the follow-up and the work along with our attorney to see where all this lands. We will follow up in the future.
I just want somebody to talk to us. Okay. I'm getting sick of the lies. Right there, honesty, one of your core values. And nobody's being honest. Everybody's trying to cover stuff up that should have never happened to a poor 5-year-old kid. That this should have never happened. I shouldn't be standing here. And she shouldn't be scared to come in front of you guys. But she is. She's afraid of the whole school. Like I said, last night I was going to send an email after you called. She broke down and asked us why you guys are picking on her. A 5-year-old kid should not say that to their parents. Why is the school picking on me? That's the way she feels. I wish she could come in here and tell you guys that herself. But we were sitting in the back row. You saw us get up probably and leave. And my wife asked me to come back in. So I appreciate your time. I know I've gone over.
And thank you for sharing this information. We will follow up with the superintendent and the administration, and we will get back to you. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is government classes at school board meetings. Oh, well, we have another one. Sorry, I didn't see you raise your hand earlier. I apologize.
Too late. Perhaps. Hello. Good evening, members of the school board and district administration. As you know, my name is Ann Robertson. I am a teacher, parent, and resident in the district. 1 month ago, I came before you and spoke to you about the lack of progress concerning the advisory team and the need for relationship building between the district administration and the teachers. I come back now to provide an update. I am happy to report that the district administration has now reversed itself, and Superintendent Fujitaki has agreed to bring 3 administrators to the advisory team. I know the BFT leadership is working to bring 3 teachers to the team, and I have every reason to believe that the advisory team, as envisioned by the Memorandum of Understanding within the current teacher contract, will meet soon. At the request of BFT leadership, I will serve as the elementary representative on the team, at least to start us off. I do see all of this as a positive step forward. Unfortunately, I am left wondering why it took so long to get here. We have lost months in the process of improving our school district. Moreover, I am questioning the district administration's intentions and goodwill on this issue. This progress on the creation of the advisory team was not made until I spoke here a month ago and Wendy Marchak, BFD president, asked you for a neutral mediator 2 weeks ago. It was only then that the district administration made the changes the teachers had been asking for since last fall. I fear that the district administration does not understand or value the role of this advisory team. Indeed, the history to date has led to a further erosion of trust between district administration and the teachers. I believe the success of this collaborative team depends upon the willingness of both sides to agree to work together respectfully and meaningfully in order to improve outcomes for our district. First and foremost, this team must serve as a way to rebuild the trust that has been worn down between the two sides. I believe our next round of teacher contract negotiations will be just as contentious as the last round if these relationships are not improved. I believe this strongly. That is why I stand before you today. So I respectfully ask the school board to hold both sides publicly accountable in this new collaboration we are calling the advisory team. I request that both sides agree in writing to a written mission statement, which includes measurable goals and metrics for the advisory team, and I request that this mission statement be brought to the school board for review. I also request that both sides of the advisory team have monthly updates in front of this school board in order to ensure meaningful progress is being made. In closing, I am pleased that we have made the progress on the composition of the team, but I am also concerned that without public accountability, this team will not be the meaningful move forward for our district that the teachers are envisioning. I'm going to diverge here from my notes for just a moment to say that I believe strongly in the process of bringing two sides together that disagree. I believe that by bringing two sides that disagree together and finding common ground, we can move forward. We can serve the public that we are here to serve. I believe it is incumbent upon us as public servants to do this. And that is why I am standing here before the board so many times. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? That will bring us to government classes at school board meetings. A requirement of our 12th grade government classes is to observe a governmental meeting of some sort, things that they may attend our city council meetings, school board meetings, courtroom proceedings, etc. The social studies curriculum guide identifies essential standards, one of which is to understand the role and influence of political processes and organizations by examining the role of interest groups, think tanks, the media, and public opinion on the political process and public policy formation. Are there any students here to fulfill their government class? None? Okay, then we will move on to Part A of our agenda.
Mr. Chair, just
Yes.
quickly, I think we have a college student that's here to fulfill a college requirement. Is that right? All right, I didn't want to let you slip away. There's so many of you sitting over there.
So do you need to, would you like to come introduce yourself and tell us about what you're in? So your mom can see, so that you have proof that you were here?
Hi, I'm Dylan Pedersen, and I'm a freshman at, it's like I have to look down at my t-shirt to notice this. I forgot what it was already. UW River Falls, and for part of one of my teacher education classes, I have to observe a board meeting and just like take notes on certain things that goes into a board meeting, because I'm going to be a future teacher someday, so I'm going to want to know how some of this goes along.
Great.
And I decided to come to this one because I graduated from Bloomington Public Schools last year.
Well, thanks for coming back. And thank you, and good luck on your future studies.
Thanks.
And if you need proof that you were here, further proof, you can, other than the video, you can have one of our administrators sign your agenda. All right. Thanks for pointing that out, Mr. Director Bergstrom.
He didn't want to say he was a high school student because he's in college now.
He's in college. When I wasn't sure, when I heard the phone go off, I heard the ringtone, I'm like, well, that's borderline, I'm not sure. So.
I was like trying to
So thank you. So that brings us to Part A. Is there someone that would like to move Part A of our agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion about Part A? Part A includes our board business, field trips, contracts, agreements, and finance. All those in favor of moving or of accepting Part A as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to Part B. First, we have approval of Achievement and Integration 3-Year Plan 2017. Someone like to read this?
Sure.
Dr. Bergstrom?
Be resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 271 approves the 2017-2020 Achievement and Integration Plan and its budget for the 2017-2018 school year in the amount of $2,007,539.41. In the event of a decrease or increase in funding from the Minnesota Department of Education, the contents of the plan and corresponding budget will be adjusted accordingly.
Second.
Greetings. Chair Oliva, school board members, Superintendent Fujitaki, viewing public. I wanted to bring this agreement, this contract to you. We talked about it at a study session last week, but I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to just encompass that conversation and some of the highlights of what's happening. So, as you just heard through the statute 124D, we are every 3 years we put in a new achievement integration plan, and so what we have in the Bloomington Public Schools are two racially isolated schools, Valley View Elementary School and Valley View Middle School, and so with that accepting of the money, we have to come up with a budget and a plan, or probably a plan and a budget, probably is the better way to say that, that have to be galvanized in two different topics, achievement and integration. Those are the two areas that we have to get at with the use of this funding. 2013, the statute changed in a minimal way to talk about two different things that are important for us. One, in 2013, the legislature added the category of economic as well as racially diverse. And so economic is now part of the integration piece. And then it also tied this work to the World's Best Workforce statute. And so throughout my discussion today, as I present to you, you'll see a couple different places where those tie in. So again, the last time we submitted was 2014, so what has changed since 2014? I think it's important to highlight that because lots have changed. First thing, as we talked about at our study session, the OEE is fully entrenched in the Learning Support Circle now, and that's an important thing to note. They're part of the work that we do in learning supports as we partner with management and instruction to make sure that we're removing barriers for students so that they can get the education that they deserve. It's a huge shift. We cleaned up the budget, as I shared last time, to make sure that the budget was aligned with the initiatives that we were going with. I'd say for the first time in my recollection, we have a vision, an equity vision for our school district. And sometimes when you don't have a vision in place that's well articulated, sometimes the budget doesn't follow. And so now that we have a strong vision about where we want to go, we've got a budget that's in line with that. The other piece that's interesting about this plan that we submit is how nimble it can be. And so for those who know me, pretty steeped in athletics, I get to coach Director Sorum's grandson and see different people at different places, but I oftentimes find myself watching different leaders. And so one leader from a pretty substantial, he's a GM of a substantial sports team, said, "I've got a 3-year plan that changes every day." And I kind of chuckled at that, but I looked at what he was saying, and I think this is what I took out of it, that the vision doesn't change, the plan doesn't change, but you have to be nimble, and you have to be able to adjust to what's in front of you. The landscape of our nation has changed in the last little while. We have to be nimble in this plan to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our families. And so we have a 3-year plan that's probably going to change every day, but the vision and the focus of what we want to do won't. A little bit about the plan, highlights from something that you've seen already, but perhaps for the viewing public. It has 2 different boxes we have to check, as I mentioned, achievement and integration. And we have 4 goals that are listed in this plan. The first one are increased achievement for each child. And we had 6 or 8 objectives under that. And so I want to talk just a little bit about what those objectives are so that you can see how the plan is focusing. We talk about emotional, academic, and mental health support for our students, making sure that we are doing that so that the students are able to be successful. One of those programs that I'd like to highlight is the AVID program. The AVID program exists at Valley View Elementary School, Valley View Middle School, and Kennedy High School. And the purpose of the AVID program is to make sure that we are pre-teaching, we are getting in front of the problem and giving the students the ability and the skill set to be college-bound if that's what they choose to do. Teaching them note-taking skills, study habit skills, questioning skills. And so again, at all 3 schools, Valley View Elementary, Valley View Middle, and Kennedy High School, that program exists and is flourishing. And then you'll note that the 2 of those schools, Valley View Middle and Valley View Elementary, are racially isolated schools. And so putting money there is a good use of our money. The other thing that's it's key with this plan is how we braid our funding to make sure that we're contributing as well. So out of this plan, you'll see in the budget that we have almost 2 FTEs that are given to Kennedy High School and then a 0.6 to Valley View to make sure that this program is done right so we can hire the teachers and the support staff needed to do this right. That in turn helps. As a former principal not too long ago, I loved the fact that this was there because it allowed me to do different things with my budget as a building principal that was able to help out. And so that's an important piece as well. And then the equity budget, the A&I budget, pays for the programming at Valley View Elementary School. I talked in the beginning about emotional and mental health support. You'll see also in this budget at the 2 racially isolated schools that there's funding in the budget to have social workers at the sites. So a 1.0 at Valley View Middle School and a 0.8 at Valley View Elementary School is funded through this grant as well to make sure that those needs are being met at each of those schools. Another program I'd like to highlight is the Nobel program at Valley View Middle School. It's the humanities way of being gifted, and so that actually checks a couple different boxes for us. So as a Valley View Middle School student, your needs might be met by this gifted and talented program, but also it checks an integration box for us. And I don't mean check a box like we did at Let's Move On, but check a box like making sure we're paying attention to it. The integration piece is that we now bus students from across the Bloomington Public Schools to Valley View Middle School to be part of this. And we're getting a significant up. This next year will be year 2 of busing. A lot of requests for people coming to do this program. And so it's working on lots of different accounts. And also, this budget also contributes a 1.0 FTE to that program to make sure that, again, as I said before, that we've got the staffing to make sure that it's done correctly. Another part you'll see in Goal 1 is the PGP and the contributions to the PGP. In essence, the PGP is an equity tool. And so if you think about having all students have a bar that's set for them to make sure that they get fair and equal treatment as they make their way through their schooling and into what they choose, either a career or college, the PGP helps do that because it brings a standard to all of that. You know, we got to hear some, must have been 3 or 4 weeks ago, we got to hear some Jefferson students talk to us about how they're not PGP fans. I probably would have done the same thing had I been 17 or 18 years old and ready, 1 foot out the door. And I thought that Cheryl Martin, who was here with me at the time, answered that eloquently, saying, your data is really important to us because we want to go forward and be able to have a benchmark to go forward. We understand the PGP is not a one-size-fits-all, and we work every day to make sure that it's working for all of our students. But the PGP really is an equity tool. It's not something we dreamed up because we wanted something else to do. It's in the statute, the World's Best Workforce Statute, 120B.125. It compels us as a school district to have plans for people to have a college and career plan, and it compels us to make sure that we're following up on that, and our PGP is the way to go about that. Lastly, equity is not a box to check, as I alluded to earlier, that it becomes the way that we see the world through a lens of equity and diversity. That we can't say we've gone to equity training and now we're ready to do whatever. We have to change the way we think. I'm reminded about what happens at our house. We've got 2 young boys at our house who have a birthday in this month, the 15th and the 27th. And we make sure, we didn't go, my wife and I didn't go to any class to talk about how to be equitable to them both. It's part of what we do. It's in us, and that's what we want, endeavor for the school district. And so they, hope they're not watching, because we're probably not going to spend the same amount of money on them on their birthday presents, because it's not about being equal, it's about being equitable. And one needs different things than the other. And that lens that my wife and I look through every single day, again, is the lens that we endeavor the school board and the school district and the teachers and everyone to look at all these different students. So equity is not a box to check. The second goal you'll see is around professional development.
Here, Mr. Coach Kubas or Director Kubas, the objectives that you're talking about, or the goals that we're talking about now, are all inclusive of all schools.
Correct.
So that even though some are identified as certain programs at some, they're still in PGP and all the other things they're talking about, all the schools and all inclusive for our goals.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Goal 2 at all schools. The equity needs assessment that I talked to you about before. We've had several conversations about it. That will take place this spring. I've been working with union leadership about making sure that we have a way to get that in the hands of teachers in an equitable way, no pun intended, so that they have the time to take that the right way, to make sure it's meaningful, and to make sure that it's not just an add-on or an initiative, as we just talked about, that indeed it's the way that we live our life. So working very hard with Wendy to make sure that that gets accomplished. The results for that will come back, as I've said before, in an aggregate form and site-specific form. So as a school district, we'll have results of what our equity lens might look like, and then we'll have site-specific data that schools will be able to use to develop their plan for what they want to do as they go forward, with some consult, of course. The third overarching goal is about decreasing opportunity and achievement gaps. We want to make sure that we have multiple ways for all students to be successful. And so we have to be very, very upfront about that. What are the ways that different kids can be successful? And as we move forward, that will become something that will endorse ourselves in. The second part of that is study and change the practices around special education and gifted, and the discovery of how we look after students or look at students there. So we could look at our gifted and talented numbers and say that our historically disenfranchised students aren't represented in that. So let's look at that and ask about why is that the case. We could also look probably in our data and say that our historically disenfranchised students might be overrepresented in special education or discipline. And so let's look at that and be better at that. And so this plan calls that out, making sure that we're doing what's right for students to be able to access their education. The last piece of it is a commitment to recruit, hire, and retain racially and linguistically diverse staff. And so partnering with human resources to make sure that we are doing that, studying the trends of who we hire, making sure that we're bringing people into our organization who are culturally competent and culturally responsive. Now, I will say in a positive note, from 2014 to the current, Human Resources would report that they have doubled the amount of employees that they've hired from diverse backgrounds. It's a great start. We can do better. We can continue to do better at that. And the last piece on that is to seek out or develop or acquire a tool that will help us gauge from our prospective candidates where they fit in our value system around racial competence and responsiveness. So I've often joked and said kind of tongue-in-cheek that, when you get engaged and when you get into a committed relationship for a lifetime, you spend a lot of time figuring out what the value set is of your significant other. And we are hiring someone perhaps for a lifetime, quote unquote. Shouldn't we be doing the same thing around how we feel about their value set and if it matches the Bloomington Public Schools around those items? A couple different noteworthy items that I'll leave you with. I've talked about Nobel and its dual purpose. There's also an initiative in here that's been going on and will continue around Hillcrest Community School. So there was a time where Hillcrest Community School didn't necessarily represent our community as far as its makeup. And we've been working with, back when I was the principal at Valley View Elementary School, talking to the families who come to Valley View Elementary School about going to Hillcrest so that they have a different opportunity in an arts-focused kind of way to be able to access that type of education if that's what they choose. And again, that's going very, very well. My understanding is that 42% of the incoming Hillcrest kindergarten class are from racially diverse backgrounds. So that's working well, and it gets to the integration piece. And then finally, the last thing I'd like to highlight are the programs offered that OEE offers. So they have a Saturday leadership cohort. They do other things, and they do great work there. So making sure that those students that they come in contact with on those Saturdays, they're working right now on their PGP plans. So partnering with other people in learning supports, in the voice of Cheryl Martin, to talk about what the PGP is, and the Office of Educational Equity using that tool to make sure that kids are getting on the right track. Additionally, they're working with students on data-rich practices around Check and Connect to make sure that we've got scientific ways, I would say, to make sure that we're dealing with students. Yes, it's important to have a relationship and to have conversations, but we should have benchmarks and measures as well as kids move on. So lots of good things to report. We're not there yet, but I'm really excited about the progress that we're making, and we'll go forward that way. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Well, we already had a pretty thorough conversation in the study session, so I only have one question that came from your report tonight when you were talking about the Nobel program, that we're seeing a lot of interest outside of Valley View area since we opened it to district-wide busing. So I'm wondering, is there going to be a space problem there? I mean, is it going to be capped? Is there room to grow that program? Or
yeah, good question.
Talk a little bit about that.
So we've had conversations earlier this year, January, about that issue, about planning forward. And so the decision that was made was right now we're just going to leave it as it is, but know that if it continues to grow, then we've started the conversation around building the capacity to make that program bigger.
Okay. So if it gets full, is it priority to the students that's their home district, or would it be just a lottery for everybody that wanted to get into it?
I don't know that we talked that far down the road about, I mean, that's a great problem to have. I hope that's a problem we have to discuss at some point, but that wasn't a problem that was on our radar right now.
All right, okay, thanks.
Andy, first, thanks for coming. Thanks for all the energy and the effort that was put into this document. I know that you're just one person, and you represent a lot of people on the team that put this together. A lot of time and energy went into it, so I appreciate that. I really appreciate your comments about flexibility. It's a 3-year plan that changes every day. That was your quote from a GM, a notable GM in town. I appreciate that you're flexible to the needs of what happens in this. Also, you mentioned Avid. I've been fortunate to watch Avid in the 5 years that I've been on the board. And I'm really, really excited and enthused when I talk to the Avid students and see how the Avid program works. It's nice to see that they have it through elementary, middle, and then into high school, so the kids have sort of that follow-up through. And then for anyone that doesn't know, Avid is Advancement via Individual Determination. So that's one of the acronyms I can remember. But I do appreciate the effort that went into this particular document.
Or comments?
Yeah. No, we talked about this last week, so I don't have questions. I'm just really looking forward to see this plan taking place. The importance of addressing or continuing to address those learning barriers for the well-being of all of our kids. So really looking forward to see, what comes out of the PGP plans, especially as we moved into the lower grades. And also excited to see how the budget is being used this time, and how we have given community engagement a different approach as well. So I truly appreciate that. And also just also looking forward to see results, to see reports and information data that we can use to see, what this is doing to student academic achievement for our students. So, thank you.
Throughout the Achievement Integration Plan, it constantly references the world's best workforce and our illustrious pathways to graduation. Was that, or is that, now that the WBWF is in place, I don't recall it being part of the achievement and integration plan before, but is the world's best workforce kind of taking over all aspects of our education, in a sense of at least being able to concentrate on that approach?
Yeah, Director Sorm, I'm not sure about all of our education, but it certainly has its fingerprints in this plan because of making sure that all students are being successful as we move forward towards that.
Because it's very comprehensive that way, and so that's always a good thing to see.
Right.
Thank you.
I think it's time to vote then. All in favor of this, of the plan, resolution on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings number 2, memorandum of agreement between Minnesota State University Mankato and Independent School District 271 for nursing students.
Mr. Chair, be resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 271 approves the memorandum of agreement between Minnesota State University Mankato and Independent School District 271. Effective dates for this agreement are July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2022.
Second.
You're on.
We're back to you.
Chair Oliva, Superintendent Fujitaki, school board members, viewing public. I'm really excited about this agreement that I bring before you. It's taken a long time, almost 2 years, for this agreement to come together, and that was on purpose. So I shared during my last presentation that it takes a long time to get to know someone's value set, and so both Mankato State and myself on behalf of the Bloomington Public Schools took a long time to get to know each other, if you will, to take that dating analogy a little further before we entered into a partnership about what we wanted to accomplish here. And so if you recall, just to give you a little bit of background history, Fairview was in the Pond Clinic. They left almost 2 years ago, or it was 2 years ago this spring, and so the Pond Clinic became vacant. When I came on, I started looking at someone that we could use to fulfill that place and look after a need that we had. I was just coming from being the principal at Valley View Elementary School, before that Valley View Middle School, and I knew that we had significant need for people to have some kind of place to go for healthcare help. And so we took our time, and it was just kind of a serendipitous bumping into a colleague of mine at the ice hockey rink, Director Sorm. And so she was with Mankato State University. She's a doctor there. She works at Children's Hospital. She volunteers her time there. I had a conversation about they're looking for a place. I said, isn't that funny? We're looking for someone to help us out. And then 2 years later, here we are ready to move forward. So a lot of meetings and going really slow to make sure that we were successful in this. So there's 4 phases to the plan. We're in the middle of phase 3 right now, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what those phases were, just to give you some context. So phase 1 was community outreach. It was really important to myself and to Mankato State that we talk to our community and our stakeholders to say, what do you want in a clinic? It's far be it from us to sit in an office and try to figure that out on our own. And so we did significant outreach to different groups. Bloomington, our nursing group here in Bloomington, Veep, who is a strong partner with us, Bloomington Public Health, Cornerstone, who is a shelter that resides in our community, our cultural liaisons, our Latino and our Somali communities, Washburn Counseling, who has a significant footprint in our school district, as well as Children's Dental, who also has a significant footprint. And we talked to them about what do they see as a need and what would they like to see in the future. And so that was the community outreach, which was part 1, and we took that data back and we used it to come up with what might this thing look like as we go forward. Fast forward a couple months, and it was decision time. Phase 2 was decision time. We talked about what was the mission of this clinic. Who would the provider be? Was our mission at Bloomington Public Schools congruent with Mankato State's mission? Was there incongruence there or not? And we found that there wasn't. And so it was decision time. We decided that we would go forward with the next step of our relationship again, if you will. Phase 3 is implementing a work plan, and that's when they're in the midst of maybe the tail end of that plan right now. So forming an advisory council, having a consultant and a manager at Mankato's choice about who that would be to manage the clinic, to make sure that it's running like a regular health clinic would, that it's not just something that's not being supervised or anything like that. So they've done that work, are ready to do that work. What services will we provide? What capacity do we have to get bigger? How will we start? I've been in front of you 100 times as a principal and as a member here that you know by now I like to start programs slow, build capacity, get some success, and go forward. So we're starting slow. The fourth stage will be the clinic opening, and we're looking to open that in the summer, early August, to do that work and start very, very slow with some pretty low-level things just to make sure that, you know, a dry run, if you will, to make sure that we've got everything in order before we do and make any other promises. So some highlights I'd like to share with you. In there, the wording is interesting. It talks about they'll provide one nursing student. There's a piece of me who thinks, but poor person's going to have to work a whole lot. But really what it refers to is one at a time. But there'll be several nursing students that'll be there under the direction. It also talks about being constantly supervised by an advanced practice registered nurse. We know that colloquially, at least at our house, we know that as a nurse practitioner. And so that's what that language means. So something that you'd go to an urgent care, you'd probably see a nurse practitioner. That'd be the same person who's doing the supervising there. We have, as the school district, have complete control of all persons involved in the program. I think that's significant. It was part of the agreement. And then the part that hits home, which was really important to all parties involved in the contract, section 7, free of charge. And so free of charge means free of charge. And so, you know, I'll say again, a little tongue-in-cheek, we won't be doing open heart surgeries there, but we'll be making referrals when things get to the point where there's not capacity to handle it at the clinic, making referrals to other organizations who offer free of charge type programs. To make sure that we're not walking our patients in our community into $1,000, $2,000 bills. And so excited about the progress we made. Again, it took a long time to get here, but I'm excited about it. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Mr. Chair. Andy, thanks for staying at the table. I looked at the time frame on the resolutions. It's 2017 to 2022, so we get to work with them for 5 years. That makes me smile. At least there's some stability. They can grow with us. They can figure out what their clientele will be. They're not looking at 24 months or 18 months. How do you feel about 5 years?
I'm excited about 5 years for the same reasons that you're excited about the 5 years, that we're developing a partnership where we've made a commitment. What 5 years tells me is we both made a commitment to do this right. And so to do it right, like you said, it's not a one-year thing. And again, we have a really good relationship with them to be able, we've had some candid conversations already, just talking about this partnership, about values and what we want to accomplish. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting after they've had at least one school year, or well, I'll call it one calendar year, just to stop in and say, how do you think things are going? What do you like it? Do you love it? Do you want more of it? That kind of thing. Right. So,
yeah. And that was I neglected to say that, but that's something that we plan to do. That after we get up and running and get our feet under us, to come back and share some stories and some successes, and quite honestly, I mean, let's be honest, share some stumbling blocks that we're encountering, but we'll get there.
Great, thanks.
That's quite a memo of agreement, going through so many of the pages of it, and it identifies it. Is there any referral line of communication if they should need to go to any of our local clinics besides? I mean, if they do what they're supposed to do and handle that, might there be some time where they're going to have to call Oxborough or Fairview or anything like that? Is that kind of open-ended that way? Or up to the individual family maybe who deals with it?
Right. Good question. So I talked about we're not yet in phase 4. That's one of the questions we're pondering right now. And so as I alluded to when I gave my preamble, one of the people who from Mankato State who's significant in this, as I mentioned, donates her time at Children's Hospital as a doctor. So she has access to free, where the referrals go, what happens do they do in acquiring that list to make sure that we're giving our families that same opportunity, again, not to walk them into a clinic and all of a sudden they have a $3,000 bill or can't help you. Now, again, in all candor, that's what we endeavor to do. How that plays out will be different, but that's what we're striving to do, is make sure that free, at our level, free means free, and we don't want to take you somewhere else.
Good, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for all your hard work on this. I mean, it's a great opportunity for both our students in our district and as well as Mankato. One of the things I was looking at here is it was saying that it would be open 2 to 3 days a week. Do we have any idea? Are we still too early to know, like what days or what the hours are going to be, or do you have any idea at this point?
No, that was a starting point. Yeah, so we don't know the level of specificity to know exactly when. That's what we're starting with. Of course, we endeavor to be open, 7 days a week at some point. But again, back to me starting slow, making sure that we get some success under us, and then it depends on the market. I mean, it depends. They're gonna track very quickly. Who's showing up when are our busy times, and then be flexible so that we're meeting the needs of our community.
But it's probably most likely going to be after school hours, or we have no idea.
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm thinking that this could be a very popular program, and especially with all the anxiety going on with healthcare and chances of millions of people losing their healthcare. That looking for a free clinic might be a good option. So we could be extremely busy here. So how this works is are there going to be like a scheduler, or is it kind of like people just come in and we're open from these hours and you just wait, and if you get seen, you get seen. If not, then come back again. We're open again?
Yeah, so I'll go one more level down in the details. Yes, there'll be a schedule. There'll be a clinic manager and a receptionist who will do that work. The bulk of it's probably going to be drop-in.
Okay.
But Mankato State, their entry into this is to provide that type of the management service. Okay. Our piece is we provide the community and the space and the know-how of our community, but they're doing that work around the scheduling and stuff like that.
And there's really no restrictions. I mean, we're kind of targeting for our families, but really anyone in Bloomington could come make an appointment here.
Yeah, and that was very, very important for us. So we've oftentimes historically talked about East and West Bloomington. That line has blurred tremendously, and so there are many people, no matter where you live in Bloomington, who could need healthcare help. And so it's a Bloomington initiative.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Isn't your wife available on some of those weekends, too?
Well, you have to talk to her.
Put her down as a referral. Yeah.
Never been.
Anybody else? So I had one point of clarification and one question about this. So my understanding of what Mankato State is getting out of this would be similar to if you go to the doctor and they say such and such as a student, they're here to observe or that, and so what Mankato though then has a permanent place where they can send students to learn. Is that sort
Correct.
of what they're getting out of this?
Correct.
Okay, and then the area where you had said you were excited about, but I'm a little bit nervous about, is where it says the district, I just lost it. The district is responsible for the care that's received.
Can you tell me where?
It's a letter B. Let's see here.
B, Roman numeral 2.
Yeah, number 2, 2B.
Letter B.
The district is responsible for the safety and quality of care provided to its patients by the students who are participating in a clinical experience program at the district. So in order to effectively fulfill that duty, it's agreed the district has ultimate control over all persons involved in the program. May immediately terminate the participation in program of any of the students enrolled where on and on and on. So where that makes me a little bit nervous is I say, hey, wait a second. If the person at Mankato State has their working screws up, are we the ones that are then responsible? Do they come after the district?
So I would not see it that way. I would say the responsibility in that for us is that we are in charge of this program because it happens on our site. So I looked at that as the ability then to make some decisions, and we're just not turning over the keys and saying, good luck on that. From a malpractice standpoint, gone through both insurance and home and law. that there is insurance there to look after if something were to happen. There's significant insurance there for that.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure if it was, they're a tenant of ours, and so whatever the tenant does, the tenant does, and we deferring to our legal?
Said from the malpractice standpoint, we are ultimately responsible.
Okay. Okay. And so I'm guessing, so like you said, we have insurance for that. Just making sure.
What's funny is I had the same question. When I was reading this, I was like, wait, we're responsible for the quality of care? And then as I further read, and I was like, oh, but we have this huge insurance policy. We're both covered, so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That clears it up. That makes sense. Any other questions? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that will bring us to board member reports. We do have another meeting after this, so if you'd like to be brief, that's great, but tell us everything that you need to that is important to you. We can start with Director Bergstrom.
I pared this one down.
It's all important.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to attend a Westwood Elementary PTA meeting. Roughly 20 people attended, and that does not represent all of the folks that come to their PTA meetings. There was something else going on. They have a very robust PTA, and they acknowledge that they're fortunate in having so many volunteers. It was interesting to see their presentation. The president of the PTA had a PowerPoint, and they used one of their smart boards, and it was in the fourth grade room. Just real quickly, the classrooms were all decorated. All the doors were decorated in different motifs, and the room that we were in happened to be the winning room. It was a 1950s Airstream trailer. So you had to step back to get perspective, but when the door was closed, then even I could figure out what it was. So it was really, really interesting. Just quickly, their carnival is coming up on April 28th. There's going to be a whole bunch of elementary carnivals coming up, so keep an eye and an ear out for those. Had a chance to go to MSBA training. This particular session was on negotiations. It was up in Maple Grove. 35 people from around pretty much the metro. It was just really interesting to hear different perspectives. There were 3 superintendents, 3 or 4 people from their district's business offices, and then board members. And it was interesting to see who sat at the table during their negotiations, how they negotiated, what they took into account. Not all of the local districts were represented there, so you get some of our rural communities, and their conversations are, as you would imagine, they're a bit different. So it was just really interesting to get different perspectives. Also want to give a quick shout out, congratulations to the Rhythm and Gold. They were the first runner-up. The East Side Swingers were the 5th runner-up, and this was in a show choir competition down in Sloan, Iowa. Kennedy also took Best Crew and Best Sportsmanship, and that was out of 25 different choirs. So a big clap and a big shout out to our Rhythm and Gold and our East Side Swingers, and then Crew for Sportsmanship. And that's my abbreviated.
Thank you for that. Is there anybody else have anything to report? No?
Just going. I can go really quickly. Just a couple quick things. I attended the District Insurance Committee. For people that don't know, the district is self-insured, and that is the group that oversees the health insurance and dental insurance for the district employees and their families, I guess, if they also have the family plan. I also attended the District Diversity Committee, which most of that meeting was going over the integration plan that we just approved. Dina brought it there to the Diversity Committee for them to review it also. And then I also attended multiple events at Olson Elementary, but one I wanted to highlight quickly is when they have their rallies, they're rewarding students as part of their PBIS, but they had one student that they gave it like an additional recognition to. They had her stand up because she found cash and turned it into her bus driver. And so they wanted to recognize, and I thought, what a great example. The principal talked in front of the whole school about that she could have put it in her pocket, she could have used it for something that she wanted, and all the things that she could have done with it, but instead she turned it into her bus driver. So I thought, what a great lesson for the whole building. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Superintendent report.
I just need to do a commercial for Valley View Middle School. They'll be performing the play Suzuko Jr., and performances will be on March 23rd, 24th, and 25th at 7 p.m. And on Saturday, the 25th, they'll be doing another performance at 2 p.m. This is going to be at their school auditorium on 8900 Portland Avenue South. And tickets are available by phone. I'll give the number 952-681-5851, or at the door 1 hour before each performance. Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll adjourn. Yes. We should have a motion to adjourn.